As I advised all of you last meeting, I'll do a chairman's report each month if there's something to report on. So it's attached to the agenda for tonight. You also each have a hard copy. I'm not going to read it all because it's there for you, but I'll summarize a couple things. I finished meeting individually with all 7 of the county commissioners. The intent of those meetings was not only to open up communication between the school board and the county commissioners, but also to bring to their attention our need for increase in the school impact fees, as well as requiring developers who are going to build huge tracts of residential developments to set aside some land for us. At some point, I explained to the county commissioners that at some point we're going to need to put schools where all those homes are at, and if they don't start setting aside some land for us to do that, we're not going to have any place to put the children that are coming from the thousands of homes that the builders are building in the county. And I seem to get some agreement from them that they would help us with that. Since our last meeting, I also attended the following events: the EMA Principals Breakfast, the 2019 Diamond Award Luncheon, the Career and Technical Education Champions Dinner, the Annual Educator Association Dinner, the Women of Worth Award Luncheon, the Education Foundation and Business Development Board Distinguished Alumni and Leadership Awards, the Cambridge Scholar Awards, and together with some of my colleagues on the board and district staff, the Palm Beach County Days in Tallahassee. Also want to mention back to the commissioners, several of the commissioners indicated that maybe it was time for us to get together again and have a joint meeting so we could discuss common interests. So if I can see a show of heads in agreement, I'll talk to the superintendent about scheduling a joint meeting with the county commission. Looks like we have an agreement on that. Great. I have attended all the swearing-ins of the new police officers. I encourage all of you to do that. I know several of you attend those with me, and it's a great opportunity to welcome the new officers to our district. I also met weekly with Superintendent Fenoy, General Counsel Rico, Inspector General Chu, Deputy Superintendent Oswald, Chief Operating Officer Wanda Paul, who I want to congratulate. We talked a lot tonight about your accomplishments, Dr. Fenoy. One of the great things that you did is you had her as your COO, and she's done an outstanding job in this district coordinating all the work that's going on, especially the work in District 5 with the building of 3 schools. So I appreciate your efforts, Mrs. Paul, and thank you for your commitment to the children in our district. Finally, I would like to address the order from the hearing officer in the DOA case, the 43-page order. I read through that order in the case of Renaissance Charter School, Inc. versus School Board of Palm Beach County. And after analyzing that order, not only as a school board member, but also as an attorney, I'm disappointed and frustrated with this inequitable interpretation of the statutes. The position of the board took in this case was not only in a good faith, but proper interpretation of the law. Charter schools operate under their own board of governors, have control of their own operations, and they have disputed this board's authority for oversight or control on numerous occasions. To now take the position that our district could control the details of safety officer and or the security protocols and security operations of charter schools is both impossible and ludicrous. I trust that this school board will later in this meeting, when we discuss agenda item LD1, vote to appeal the ruling of the administrative hearing officer so that we can move on in a sensible manner, protecting the children in this district. And with that said, we also have typically recognized the families and those of our employees who have passed away recently, so I would like to take the opportunity to do that at this point. I'd like first to recognize the passing of Jody Andrews. She was a specialist in instructional capacity development, Regional Office North, born in '76, and she passed away in 2018. Frederick Dearworth, teacher day-to-day substitute in the district substitute pool. He was born 1936. He passed away in 2018. Brenda Dominique, school treasurer, too, at Gladeview Elementary. She was born in 1963 and passed away in December 2018. Georges Gulame, teacher, secondary math, 9 through 12, Lakeworth High School. He was born in 1963 and passed away January 2019. Ahmed McAllister, custodian at Glade Central High School, was born in 1986, passed away February 2019. Robert Mullins, school police aide with our school police department. He was born in 1951 and he passed away in 2018. And a good friend of mine, John Cunningham, the retired school counselor from West Boca Raton High School. He was born in 1949 and passed away March 4th, 2019. If we could take a moment of silence to recognize these employees who have left us and their families. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the school board meeting to order. Mrs. Bass, please call the roll.
District 1, Barbara McQuinn, absent. District 2, Chuck Shaw. Here. District 3, Karen Brill. Here. District 4, Erica Whitfield. Here. District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews. Here. District 7, Deborah Robinson.
We have a quorum with 6 board members present. Let the record reflect that also present at the dais tonight are Superintendent Dr. Donald Fenoy, Inspector General Mr. Lung Chu, General Counsel Mrs. Julianne Rico, and County Council of Student Council's President Mr. Nolan Ursoy from Park Vista High School. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Palm Beach Gardens Community High School Navy Junior ROTC, who will be presenting the flag, and here to sing the national anthem is Mr. DeMarcus Williams, a music instructor at Congress Middle School. Would you all please stand for the pledge and the performance?
Mark time. March. Inboard. Base. Color guard. Halt. Present. Colors. Ready. Cut.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ready. Cut. Mark time. March. Outboard. Base. Forward. March.
Great job, everyone. Thank you. We'd like to acknowledge the principal of Palm Beach Gardens High, Dr. Donald Hoffman, and the principal of Congress Middle, Mrs. Denise O'Connor, whose students and teacher performed here this evening. Before we get started on the agenda, I'd like to remind all that this meeting is being transcribed in real time so it can be viewed with closed captioning. Please speak at a reasonable pace so the transcribers can fully capture what you are saying. The next item on the agenda will be the items added, LD1, P2, P3, P4. Item LD1, Renaissance Charter School Inc. versus School Board of Palm Beach County, Florida, is being added. Good cause exists for this item being added to the agenda so the board can make a determination on its appellate rights within the time frame required by law. P2, personal addendum, good cause exists to add this item so employees may begin in their new positions as soon as possible. P3, revised salary schedules for school-based administrators, and P4, revised salary schedules for non-bargaining unit employees, including administrative, professional, and managerial, miscellaneous, and confidential. Good cause exists to add these items to allow for the processing of salary increases in a timely manner. REG-N1, Second Amendment to the MOU with the City of West Palm Beach for Northmore Elementary. Good cause exists to add this item in order to have it processed before the end of the March deadline. Mr. Superintendent, are you withdrawing any items?
Yes, sir. I'm withdrawing COM 8 and PSI, personnel disciplinary action.
All right, and so far we have 2 items pulled, C1, CI1, CI2, and FMPF1. Any other board members? Board members want to pull any other items at this time? All right, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Mrs. Andrews made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor, all opposed, motion carries 6-0. Disclosures and abstentions, anyone? Seeing none, Mr. Superintendent, comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So, good evening to everyone, and many congratulations are in order this evening. First of all, I'd like to announce that we are celebrating 2 birthdays at the dais today. Ms. Erica Whitfield, whose birthday is March 23rd, and Ms. Marsha Andrews, whose birthday is March 31st. Let's give them a round of applause. So this week, we did announce some very special recognitions, but because Ms. Andrews' birthday is coming, I'm going to let her make those announcements when the time permits. But we'll get to that. I also want to congratulate Lakeisha Nathan, who has been selected as the new principal of Hope Centennial Elementary School. Ms. Nathan has served as an instructional support team leader for the Central Regional Office for the past 4 years. I'd like to invite her and the instructional superintendent, Mrs. Vivian Green, to come to the table to say a few words at this time.
Good evening to our board chair, to all the board members. It gives me great honor to introduce to you the new principal of Hope Centennial Elementary School, Mrs. Lakeisha Nathan.
Chairman Barbieri, Vice Chairman Shaw, board members, Superintendent Dr. Fenoy, Deputy Superintendent Oswald, Dr. Rodriguez, and Mrs. Green. Good evening. My name is Lakeisha Nathan, and I am deeply humbled to stand before you today in becoming the next principal of Hope Centennial Elementary School. It is my privilege to serve the students, parents, teachers, and the surrounding community of Hope Centennial. I would like to thank my family, who is to my right, my husband, Andre, my 2 children who are products of the Palm Beach County school system, my son, Aaron, who's in the 5th grade, my daughter, Asha, who's in the 2nd grade, and my mother, Mrs. Berry. Will you please stand, please? Thank you for putting up with all of my bright ideas, all of my wacky dreams. I'm deeply indebted. I would like to also thank all of my mentors who have poured into me in helping me grow and become a leader. I would also like to express that I'm excited to work in CE2, Central Region Elementary 2, under the leadership of Vivian Green. And I would also like to say to the board that I can assure you that I will work most earnestly to fulfill not only Hope's vision and mission, but also the district's vision, mission, and the strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations, and we look forward to the awesome work that will be continued at Hope Centennial. And finally, last week marked the 1 year since the school board selected me as the superintendent. And I would like to take this opportunity to present some highlights from my first year on the job. Let's see if I can get it to work. All right. So, board members, how quickly a year goes. A year ago this month, I had the honor of being chosen as the superintendent of this great district. To mark the anniversary, I wanted to take some time this evening to capture some of our work together over this past year. I first want to thank the school board and staff for their all-in approach to school safety and student mental health. Your support to improve our school police force and take the necessary steps to protect our schools has resulted in an officer in every school and a school police division that is well on its way to becoming a model police force for all of Florida, and I dare say the nation. I could not be prouder of how this school board and the district staff navigated and responded to the lessons of the Parkland tragedy. We've grown and learned from unspeakable loss. Supporting the needs of our students' social and emotional well-being continues to be a priority. Thanks to the diligent work of the Deputy Superintendent and his team, we were able to respond to the mandates of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas Safety Bill, co-locate additional services on campus, and develop 2 CAPE crisis teams. You were just briefed on this last week, but again, I want to applaud the work of Keith, Junisa, Michael Kane, and so many others who have worked tirelessly in this area the past year. The ability to expand the capacity of this important work is made possible by the generous voters of this community who approved a $1 million operating levy this past November. This was the second successful referendum in 2 years. 2 votes of confidence from the community for our school district. I believe this is in large part to the community's faith in our school board and the work that our CFO and his amazing finance team, who work hand in hand with our oversight committee to ensure every dollar is accounted for and the promises we make are the promises we keep. I want to also thank Justin Katz and the work of CTA for their support in not only passing the referendum, but coming to the table as a continued partner to work through the nuances of the teacher longevity bonuses. Speaking of our penny at work, under the leadership of Chief Operating Officer Mrs. Wanda Paul, the facilities team has been hard at work. This past summer, over 220 projects were completed, both large and small. Over winter break, 60 projects were completed, including installation of 12 new chillers. This coming spring break won't be a break for anyone in the district. As you can see, there are multiple projects that will ramp up while the rest of us are enjoying this postcard perfect weather. And I also just want to mention it is fascinating, board, when I go out to schools and something new has shown up, whether it's an air conditioning unit or a roof, and the principal's like, oh my gosh, overnight, this thing just showed up. And so what a pleasant surprise with the hard work of this team, the maintenance team, for all the work that they do. In total, there are currently $270 million worth of projects in process, 46 of which are security related. Keeping this work moving is a big lift, not just for the facilities team, but the purchasing and budget teams as well. I want to thank all of them for their hard work this past year. The team has also been hard at work on some of the things that aren't immediately evident. We've deployed an additional 25,000 Chromebooks this school year, bringing our device-to-student ratio down to 2 to 1. More devices require better connectivity. Under the leadership of our Chief Information Officer, we've replaced our framework systems and upgraded our district bandwidth. All elementary schools have had server upgrades and just in time, because in addition to deploying additional Chromebooks, we have also started to deploy the interactive smart boards into our classrooms. Board members, these initiatives continue to be made possible as a result of your leadership and the continued support of our community. Speaking of the people who make things possible, our Human Resource Division under the leadership of Dr. Gonzalo LaCava continues their laser focus on hiring the best teacher talent for our students. This year, they hired over 1,700 teachers to walk into our classrooms for the first time. We continue to seek out and hire teachers who look like our students. And this year, we increased our hiring of minority teachers to 44%. For the third consecutive year, we have planned for all staff to receive a raise again. And I'm proud of the school board and the finance team for making the living wage of our employees a continued priority. And in the spirit of continuous improvement, the Human Resources team just hosted the Florida Sterling Council for a site visit. They've had every piece of data and processes combed through for the purpose of benchmarking the division against the best in the state and country. We will be eagerly awaiting their feedback. We continue to invest in our leaders in partnership with Florida Atlantic University and the Leadership for Excellence and Equity program. We have teachers in the pipeline to become district leaders the Palm Beach way. Continuing to grow our own is a priority across the entire district, and the leadership team continues to plan for these pipelines. Our finance team has also received important awards, setting them aside as one of the best in the industry. And even though you just received a deep dive into our instructional updates at our last board workshop, I cannot say enough about how proud I am of our continued efforts to get kids across that stage. And I am looking forward to shaking the hands of another 14,000 plus kids in a couple of weeks. My chiropractor is on notice. Teachers, principals, teachers, and school-based staff, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for your continued support of our students. And lastly, personally, I just want to thank this school board for your leadership and your hard work over the past year. It's truly been my pleasure to work alongside you, and I appreciate the way that you forced me to grow in my leadership and just grow as a man, and I thank you for that. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Fennoy. Dr. Fennoy, with the indulgence of my colleagues, I'd like to comment on your comments. Thank you for your leadership. It's difficult to believe that 1 year has already passed, and it's impressive when we reflect on your many accomplishments over the past 12 months. What a critical year this has been for our school district. We knew 1 year ago when we were hiring our next superintendent that we were in the midst of major changes in education, academically and from a security point of view. You have proven yourself as a true leader, a humble servant, and a source of motivation for our students, staff, and this board. Dr. Fennoy, your vast experience in this district first as Chief Operations Officer has proven invaluable to all of us as we navigate the changes in school security measures, oversee the countless penny sales tax funded projects throughout the district, and as we went to voters to support our referendum in November. You, of course, bring so much more to the table than your COO experience. Your steadfast and calm leadership style has been inspiring. I'm confident that under your leadership, we'll see the graduation rate continue to soar, and we will meet or exceed the goals set in the district's strategic plan. Dr. Fennoy, your vast experience in this district, first as Chief Operations Officer, has proven invaluable to all of us. You, of course, bring so much more to the table than your COO experience. Your steadfast and calm leadership style has been inspiring. When you were first hired as superintendent, I joked that you are young enough to be my son, and we had a deal. Do you remember that deal? I told you that if you promised not to call me Pops, I wouldn't call you Sonny. And so far, we've kept that promise. However, I will make one fatherly comment that I hope you will take in the true spirit that it is intended. I'm truly proud of you. I'm proud of the work you are doing. I'm very proud that you're the face of our district and how you continue to share the school district story. And we look forward to continuing working with you with the common goal of academic excellence and providing a world-class education for all children. Congratulations on your anniversary. Here's to many more.
Thank you, sir.
Board comments, Mrs. Whitfield.
Thank you. I would also like to take a quick second to say happy anniversary to Dr. Fennoy and also the rest of this iteration of the leadership team, especially our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Oswald. I think I'm always proud of you. You guys do such an amazing job, and I do want to say thank you so much for this 1 year of service, and I'm looking forward to many more. If I could put a suggestion of like at least 5, maybe 10, if you want to aim that direction. Right now, that's I feel I'm very proud of you. Okay, so I have a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, is last week was Palm Beach County Days, and we were in Tallahassee. You had a great representation from your board. I'll let them talk about their experiences. But one thing I wanted to assure you is, first of all, your superintendent was there, which was amazing to have him. He does such a good job of speaking to our legislators and talking about our issues. Also, we have a great leadership team up there that brought us around, and I want you to know how hard we're working to make sure that we're heard in Tallahassee. I feel like that's a very important thing for us to make sure that your voices are carried forward, and it was a pleasure for me to be a part of that. The next thing I wanted to mention is we have a special donor in the audience that we are going to recognize, but I wanted to take a second, really, because I think it's a special and exciting story. We have our homeless liaison with us, which is Beth Leffler, and she had expressed an interest in having flexible funds to help our homeless children when they have a need that may not be covered by some of our other funding sources, and we have to document so much. And so she was able to raise, I believe, about $12,000 from the Leslie Alexander Foundation, represented here today by Ellen Andel. And it's just such a special pot of money because it really is going to really make a difference in the day-to-day lives of these children. And it is such a wonderful thing to have organizations, especially one that's so new to our community, really step up to help such a special group of children. So I wanted to say thank you for that. And last, I want to mention this afternoon, I got an opportunity to go to the Palm Beach Post. Under the direction of our school food service department, we have been partnering with the Living Hungry organization, and they always come through for things like spring break and Christmas break and our holidays and our weekends to really make sure that our children are fed during that time. We had 52 different schools come today. Their principals came, or they sent a staff member to pick up food to bring to their students, to bring to the students to have food for over the holidays. So we are going to have a whole week off, and for most of us that means everything happy and wonderful, and I'm looking forward to that time off. But for some students, that is their main source of food coming to school. So to be able to have this food donated to them so that they have something for over that holiday is really, I think, a special thing. So I want to say thank you to Living Hungry and the organizations that have sponsored that, and a huge thank you to our school food service department for coordinating all of the schools and all of the people to come and pick up those things. So finally, I want to say have a really great spring break, and it would be a really huge birthday gift to me if nobody had any kind of incidents or issues. I want a really calm spring break, so I'm going to ask you for that for my birthday present, and thank you so much for this lovely cupcake. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whitfield. Ms. Brill?
Thank you. So this is all going to sound like deja vu, but I'll start off by saying that time sure does fly, Dr. Fennoy. It seems like just yesterday that you were selected to lead our fabulous district, and I have to say it has truly been a pleasure to work with you as well as the members of your team. And I'm so excited as I look ahead to the things that we're going to accomplish and keep furthering. And time does fly, as Mrs. Whitfield mentioned, it's spring break. So for those of you that Dr. Fennoy are not having come to work over spring break, take time with your families and your loved ones, relax, enjoy the sunshine, breathe. We know that testing time is around the corner when you get back, but we just want you to have a very happy and a safe spring break. And I also want to touch on the fact that last week several of us did travel up to Tallahassee, both in advance of Palm Beach County Day and during Palm Beach County Day, to fight the fight for our schools. And I have to tell you that in the 8 years I've been sitting up here, I want you to know this has been our most productive trip ever. And in large part, it was due to the fabulous team that we have with our lobbyists. We had a discussion at the last board meeting, and I've got to tell you, we have boots on the ground locally with Rita Solnit, who does a fabulous job locally, and then Ron LaFace and his assistant Megan with Capital City Consulting up in Tallahassee. They set up the meetings we wanted. Very bipartisan. They prepared us. We walked in there with full support, and it was orchestrated so perfectly. And as Mrs. Whitfield said, we will still continue to do that. I know that Mr. Shaw and Mrs. Andrews are going to be up with the Florida School Board Association. Others of us are going to remain nimble and ready to fly up there or to drive up there if needed for this session. But I am so proud because this is the first time that I didn't come back and complain about the way everything was set up. So thank you, Dr. Fennoy. Thank you to Ron LaFace, to Megan, and to Rita Solnit. And again, everybody, a happy and a safe spring break. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brill. Mrs. Andrews?
Thank you. And I'd also like to say it's been a great first year, Dr. Fennoy. We've had many accomplishments. And I'm so thankful that the referendum, the penny sales tax, just our major projects, we've been successful. We've been successful because we have a great team. Mr. Oswell, you're everywhere. I see you on the ground with Dr. Fennoy making things happen. But it's because you have a great team, Dr. Fennoy and Mr. Oswell. And it's that leadership team, the schools, all of the teachers and the community working together. So it's been a good year, and we're looking for great things for the future. So congratulations on your first year. Now, I would like to have a few minutes extra if I can get it, because I've got a lot to talk about today. So again, good afternoon. We had a wonderful trip to Tallahassee. It was a whirlwind trip to Tallahassee in the cold, but we know what to do when we have to fight for what we need for our schools, our students, our teachers, our community. And I want to thank everybody that came from Palm Beach County, all of the different officials from the county level, from the cities. We all came together to talk to the legislators about the priorities for Palm Beach County, and we were plugging in heavily for what we need for the Palm Beach County School District as far as our priorities. And I'd like to thank the legislators for listening to us and smiling with us and saying that they heard us and they're going to help us. But we're going to keep going to Tallahassee so that they won't forget us, so that we can get what we need for our district. But as I returned to Palm Beach County last week, there were many surprises and secrets this week. As I returned, I want to tell you about some behind-the-scenes things that happened. You know, you never know when you leave home and you pack up and go somewhere what you're going to get when you come back. But when I came back, there were many secrets out there. So as I received emails at the end of last week as I was coming back home, there was an air of extra excitement in the air. Emails and text messages stated, "It's a surprise that will be revealed at Royal Palm Beach High School on Monday at 8:30. Be there. It's a secret. Shh. You can't tell anybody." So to my surprise, I received another email text stating, "Be at Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School on Tuesday at 11:45 a.m. Be there. It's a secret. Shh. Don't tell anybody." So it was hard for me wandering around before those dates to figure out, shall I tell my husband? Shall I tell my grandkids? Who could I really tell? I don't know really what's going to happen, but something special is about to happen. So I arrived at Royal Palm Beach High School on Monday morning to see the excitement, the enthusiasm, and the exhilaration. There was Dr. Fanoy, the principal, Dr. Armas, the region administrators, the HR team, cameras from the newspapers to the television stations, families. This is the big one, I said. Guess what, Miss Andrews? It's the Palm Beach County Teacher of the Year celebration. You're a part of this. Get ready. So being the Teacher of the Year for the 10th largest school district makes the news all the time, because we know we have great teachers in Palm Beach County, but getting to be the Teacher of the Year is big news. We were told then to be quiet. It's going to be Mrs. Boyd, the IB and ACE teacher. Her family and newborn baby were waiting for the celebration. We were all in that little room waiting. We wondered if Mrs. Boyd knew, but she knew nothing. She was unaware in her classroom teaching. I remember going to an event at the school a year ago, and I heard the students rave about her teaching and how outstanding she was in the classroom. And so as we began to look at Mrs. Boyd and walk down the hall quietly, not to make a lot of noise in the school because everybody was on task, we went to Mrs. Boyd's room. There was Dr. Fanoy leading the way with the flowers, the cameras, everybody was just looking. Mrs. Boyd did not know what was going on when we walked in her room. The baby was there smiling, says, "That's my mommy, that's my mommy." He can't talk yet, but we knew he knew that was his mommy being honored as the Teacher of the Year. So I want to tell you, Miss Boyd grew up here in Palm Beach County and attended South Olive Elementary School, Bach Middle School, and graduated from Suncoast High School. She told us that she felt that the district did so much for her and to promote her education, that it was no question she wanted to come back to the district and make a difference for the children. And as you went into her classroom and you saw that IB math and those ACE questions on the board, I was looking and I wondered if I could answer those questions, and I looked at Dr. Fanoy and all the other people. We knew she was awesome right on the bat because the students were engaged and getting it done. And we're so lucky, so blessed to have her at Royal Palm Beach High School. But it didn't stop. It just didn't stop. Yesterday was another exciting day. I says, I've got to be quiet because I can't tell a soul. I was heading over to Loxahatchee Groves Elementary. It was another secret. Shh, you can't tell anybody. I was in the Glades that morning. I had to get in my car and make it back to Loxahatchee. I couldn't tell the people where I was going. I had to leave my meeting early, but I said, let me get over there. They sent an email to me. Park in the back of the school. You're going to see a group of people standing there waiting for the special event. There was Dr. Fenoy again with flowers and reporters. The human resources people, the region people were there, cameras, the family. Everybody was there. I said, oh my gosh, this is another big day for Palm Beach County. This day was for the Employee of the Year. I wondered who the person was because we didn't know. We were sworn to secrecy. We just knew to be there. So I was asking the people, well, who is it? Do you know the name of the person? And they didn't seem to know any more than I knew. So we found out it was Annette Blanco, the principal's secretary. She's the go-to person for all things related to keeping the school running efficiently at Loxahatchee Groves Elementary School. And Miss Blanco is an awesome lady. She always greets me with a smile every time I'm there to visit, and she keeps the school running so smoothly, helping those wonderful students with clothing, food drives, and whatever they need. Now, a little bit about Loxahatchee Groves. It was the first school built out there in the area. You look at the acreage now, it's booming with people. Loxahatchee Groves was the first school, the granddaddy school that started it all in the acreage. And now Ms. Blanco has set the bar for the very best of employees and the service and care that they can provide for our students, teachers, and staff. Again, I'm just so proud of all the excitement, the wonderful accolades, the great staff, the new Employee of the Year, the Teacher of the Year, coming from District 6. Yay. Let's give that a hand, everybody, because that was big. And lastly, I've got to sneak a couple things in, Mr. Barbieri, the real deal right here. I want us to say congratulations to Marie St. Louis. She won $40,000 from Take Stock in Children. She's a senior at Glades Central High School. She is one of 7 that was selected by the state of Florida last week in Tallahassee for Leaders for Life. $40,000 scholarship to go to Florida State University. That's where she's going. And so we're so proud of her. And the last shout out is for Pahokee Middle School Robotics. Keep up the great work. You're winning, winning, winning. We are winning all over Palm Beach County, right there in District 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Marcia Andrews. You should have been a preacher. Dr. Robinson.
Okay, thank you. You know, I got to learn how to do that. I'm taking notes. So let me just say this. So you probably know that sometimes I had difficulty staying in my lane, and sometimes I take great joy in not staying in my lane. But I have to say, in terms of your 1 year, Dr. Fenoy, I don't know if you really realize this, but sometimes I have difficulty in our conversations in figuring out if, in that particular conversation, if I'm the board member or am I your auntie, right? And so I will say that, and I'm going to say this now, but I'm not going to say it too often because you might get the big head, all right? But both as your board member and your auntie, I am proud of you. And I vow that I will continue to push you to be even better, okay? And the district as a whole. But so, my monthly Black History Facts. I decided I'm going to take a little bit of a different path. So, you know, most months I will write out some information on a particular fact. So I've decided that we're going to move to the next level, and I'm going to provide you with information so you can get more facts yourself. And so I'm going to start sharing books, right? So today I brought the Journal of Negro History. Now this is volume 1 of, I have 6 volumes at my home. it belonged to my granddaddy, and he passed it on to my daddy, who passed it on to me, and I look forward to passing it on. I think I'm gonna just skip my sons and go to the grandchildren, but whatever. Published in 1916 by Carter G. Woodson. Now, you ought to know who Carter G. Woodson was, and if you don't, that's your assignment. So the contents of this one, so this is a scholarly document. This is, and actually it's still being published. But it's a series of scholarly works. And so in this first volume from 1916, some of the reports or documents included the Negroes of Cincinnati prior to the Civil War, a review of a book on the Haitian Revolution. How about this, one of my favorites? The historic background of the Negro physician, the Negro soldier in the American Revolution, freedom and slavery in Appalachian America, right? One of the documents is 18th century slaves as advertised by their masters. The additional scholarly works include the attitude of the free Negro toward African colonization, People of Color in Louisiana, Part 1. And how about this? Notes on Negroes in Guatemala during the 17th century. So obviously you can't have this book, but I would hope that at least maybe we can start making sure that the electronic versions of this outstanding series of scholarly works starting more than a century ago, written by African scholars about the African diaspora, that we will make sure that that's available for our teachers and our students to learn from as we teach people to think critically. And in order to do that, you have to get some background information. And how about going back 100 years and coming forward? And so I just wanted to share this. This is the first book. I have a house full of them. And so I don't know how many I'll be able to get through, because I'm not staying here forever. I just promise you that. But I can't get through all those books at my house, so maybe I have to start doing 2 at a time or 3 at a time. But this, I think, is the grandfather, right? This is the one that helped my daddy understand who he was, and therefore helped me understand who I am. And so I hope that we come to understand more about my history so that we will have higher expectations of children that are obviously of African descent, and that we will really work towards equity. We can't work towards equity until we study history and set clear equity goals. And I think this is part of the process. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Vice Chairman.
I can recall the evening and afternoon when this board made the decision to appoint Dr. Fennoy as superintendent. And sometimes when we make decisions, it's how it feels when we make that decision. And I think the day that we made that decision, we all felt like we made absolutely the right decision, and our district was moving in a direction that we would be proud of. And I know the entire time I've been on the board, one of the priorities that I've always felt like I had was that we needed to make sure our district had stability and leadership and direction. And Dr. Fennoy, you have done that. And I appreciate that. And I can't even begin to say how pleased I am with the work that you've done. The one thing nobody talked about yet tonight, and just very briefly, is the impact that Dr. Fennoy has had outside the school district and the leadership that he's taking with the Florida, with FADS, the Florida Association for District School Superintendents, the work that he's doing with other agencies around the country. I think I've seen all of those TDEs that we signed for him to be in other places representing not only Palm Beach County, but representing education as a whole in this country. And it's one of those messages that we don't always know about, but it's something that I think has a tremendous, tremendous impact. The other part of it is not only has he taken that leadership, but he's been the kind of leader that has allowed people on his staff, the leadership team, to be part of growing that way too. So Dr. Fennoy, thank you. Congratulations on that. And I hope that you are settled here until both of your kids are more than graduated from high school in Palm Beach County. And your daughter is what, 4 now? 3. So that gives you all an idea how long it'll be. So later tonight, we're going to be recognizing Jim Pegg, who was served as the president of the Palm Beach County Safety Patrol Association, and we're recognizing him. But in the next 30 seconds, I want to just share how much work it takes for the people who are involved in safety patrol to make those trips happen. What it took for Jim to be the person to arrange transportation, to do the food, to do the lodging, to schedule all of the things for transportation with buses and train and everything. This is a major, major undertaking that isn't something that just happens 1 month a year. This has been a 12-month process and has been for all of the years. Palm Beach County will certainly miss his expertise, but I know he'll be on call. And later tonight, thank you, Jim, for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. As I advised all of you last meeting, I'll do a chairman's report each month if there's something to report on. So it's attached to the agenda for tonight. You also each have a hard copy. I'm not going to read it all because it's there for you, but I'll summarize a couple things. I finished meeting individually with all 7 of the county commissioners. The intent of those meetings was not only to open up communication between the school board and the county commissioners, but also to bring to their attention our need for increase in the school impact fees, as well as requiring developers who are going to build huge tracts of residential developments to set aside some land for us. At some point, I explained to the county commissioners that at some point we're going to need to put schools where all those homes are at, and if they don't start setting aside some land for us to do that, we're not going to have any place to put the children that are coming from the thousands of homes that the builders are building in the county. And I seem to get some agreement from them that they would help us with that. Since our last meeting, I also attended the following events: the EMA Principals Breakfast, the 2019 Diamond Award Luncheon, the Career and Technical Education Champions Dinner, the Annual Educator Association Dinner, the Women of Worth Award Luncheon, the Education Foundation and Business Development Board Distinguished Alumni and Leadership Awards, the Cambridge Scholar Awards, and together with some of my colleagues on the board and district staff, the Palm Beach County Days in Tallahassee. Also want to mention back to the commissioners, because several of the commissioners indicated that maybe it was time for us to get together again and have a joint meeting so we could discuss common interests. So if I can see a show of heads in agreement, I'll talk to the superintendent about scheduling a joint meeting with the county commission. Looks like we have an agreement on that. Great. I have attended all the swearing-ins of the new police officers. I encourage all of you to do that. I know several of you attend those with me, and it's a great opportunity to welcome the new officers to our district. I also met weekly with Superintendent Fennoy, General Counsel Rico, Inspector General Chu, Deputy Superintendent Oswald, Chief Operating Officer Wanda Paul, who I want to congratulate. We talked a lot tonight about your accomplishments, Dr. Fennoy. One of the great things that you did is you had her as your COO, and she's done an outstanding job in this district coordinating all the work that's going on, especially the work in District 5 with the building of 3 schools. So I appreciate your efforts, Mrs. Paul, and thank you for your commitment to the children in our district. Finally, I would like to address the, I get to it, the order from the hearing officer in the DOA case, the 43-page order. I read through that order in the case of Renaissance Charter School, Inc. versus School Board of Palm Beach County. And after analyzing that order, not only as a school board member, but also as an attorney, I'm disappointed and frustrated with this inequitable interpretation of the statutes. The position of the board took in this case was not only in a good faith, but proper interpretation of the law. Charter schools operate under their own board of governors, have control of their own operations, and they have disputed this board's authority for oversight or control on numerous occasions. To now take the position that our district could control the details of safety officer and/or the security protocols and security operations of charter schools is both impossible and ludicrous. I trust that this school board will later in this meeting, when we discuss agenda item LD1, vote to appeal the ruling of the administrative hearing officer so that we can move on in a sensible manner, protecting the children in this district. And with that said, we also have typically recognized the families and those of our employees who have passed away recently, so I would like to take the opportunity to do that at this point. I'd like first to recognize the passing of Jody Andrews. She was a specialist in instructional capacity development, Regional Office North, born in '76, and she passed away in 2018. Frederick Dearworth, teacher day-to-day substitute in the district substitute pool. He was born 1936. He passed away in 2018. Brenda Dominique, school treasurer, too, at Gladeview Elementary. She was born in 1963 and passed away in December 2018. Georges Goulame, teacher, secondary math, 9 through 12, Lake Worth High School. He was born in 1963 and passed away January 2019. Ahmed McAllister, custodian at Glade Central High School, was born in 1986, passed away February 2019. Robert Mullins, school police aide with our school police department. He was born in 1951 and he passed away in 2018. And a good friend of mine, John Cunningham, the retired school counselor from West Boca Raton High School. He was born in 1949 and passed away March 4th, 2019. If we could take a moment of silence to recognize these employees who have left us and their families. Thank you very much. Back to the agenda. That takes us to presentations, I believe. And now Mrs. Neka Nolim from the Communications and Engagement Department joins us for the March Board presentations. Good evening, Neka.
Good evening, Mr. Board Chair, board members, superintendent and staff, and community members. This evening we have 7 presentations on the agenda. We begin with a recognition of a team of 5 talented students from Atlantic Community High School who placed first in the 2019 Palm Beach County Regional Ethics Bowl. They competed in the tournament in which teams discuss ethical questions related to current social issues. The team will go on to compete at the National Ethics Bowl tournament next month at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. A group of sponsors were instrumental in their support of the 2019 Ethics Bowl. A special thank you to Richard and Leslie Stone from the Richard and Leslie Stone Family Fund, Claudia Barto from Junior Achievement of the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast, Guy Miller from the Better Business Bureau serving Southeast Florida and the Caribbean, and David Steinfeld from the Palm Beach County Bar Association. Additionally, the team will be recognized at the 2019 Better Business Bureau Torch Awards for Ethics Luncheon, which will be held next month as well. The event will benefit Atlantic High School and their participation in the National Ethics Bowl. Each of the students worked extremely hard to earn their first place finish, and we wish them luck at the national tournament. Congratulations to this talented group of 12th grade students from Atlantic Community High School for their first place finish. Congratulations to Ian Leon, Angela Muller, Suman Santi, Anna Valeria Tazak, and Shreya Venkat. And we'd also like to acknowledge their coach, Joseph Rajkovic, Tara Delagradio Campo, the principal at Atlantic High, as well as Becky Youngman, the manager of teaching and learning. Let's give them all a round of applause.
I'm just missing Dr. Robinson. There we are. 1, 2, and... Oh.
Next, we want to recognize the winners of the Palm Beach School Counselor Association School Counselor of the Year at the elementary, middle, and high school level, as well as the new Counselor of the Year. These individuals were selected by a group of their peers as exemplars in school counseling and for their support of comprehensive school counseling programs that address the social, emotional, academic, and college career needs of their students. First, we have the Elementary School Counselor of the Year, who is Wenda Oscar from Cross Point Elementary. She has been working for the school district for a total of 18 years and as a teacher and counselor for 8 years. When she came to the U.S. in 1999, she felt lost in the educational system because it was so different than what she was used to, and she couldn't find any staff members that spoke her language. She chose her profession because of her personal experiences, her desire to close the achievement gap between English language learners and other students, and to be a positive role model. What keeps her going is watching her students find their self-worth and find reasons to love school. Let's give her a round of applause. The Middle School Counselor of the Year is Julia Fassell from Woodlands Middle. She has been with the district for 40 years and has worked as a school counselor at Woodlands Middle for more than 20 years. She comes from a family of educators and knew from a young age that she wanted to spend her life impacting the hearts of young people. As a school counselor, she helps students believe in themselves and their abilities. She assists them in setting goals and impresses upon them the importance of grit and determination. What keeps her going every day and why she loves her job so much is being able to say to the kids, "You got this." Let's give her a round of applause. The High School Counselor of the Year is Mary Turner from Park Vista Community High School. She has been with the school district for 19 years and has more than 20 years of overall experience. She also comes from a family of educators and also knew that she wanted a career where she could help people. She became a school counselor to help students achieve their social, personal, and academic goals. The love she has for all of her students and the knowledge that she is making a difference in their lives motivates her every day. Let's give her a round of applause.
That's perfect. 1, 2.
And the new Counselor of the Year is Casey Weber from Wellington Community High School. She has been working as a counselor in the school district for a little over a year. She was inspired to become a school counselor by discovering ways to help connect students' passions with possible career and life choices. She enjoys the opportunity she gets each day to positively impact a student's life, and her commitment to that critical role keeps her going, doing the important work of working with our kids. Let's give her a round of applause. Each of these school counselors attend to the complex needs of students each and every day, and we're very proud to recognize them this evening. Thank you for your hard work. Next, we want to recognize the recipients of the Palm Beach School Counselor Association Site-Based Administrator of the Year Award, which honors school-based administrators who empower counselors to run effective, efficient, comprehensive school counseling programs at the elementary, middle, and high school level. We first have the Site-Based Elementary School Administrator of the Year, Ms. Danielle Garcia, the principal at Coral Sunset Elementary. She has been with the district since 2001 and has more than 30 years of experience. She loves igniting a fire in those around her, seeing the growth in her staff and her students, and the positive impact she is able to have on her students each day is the most rewarding thing for her. Let's give her a round of applause. The site-based middle school administrator of the year is Joe Pisia, the principal at Eagles Landing Middle School. He has worked for the district for 20 years and is in his 6th year as a principal. His work ethic led him into leadership, and it's his students, staff, and community that keep him going each day. He is carrying on a tradition of commitment to education, following in the footsteps of his father, who was a teacher and coach in the school district. Let's give him a round of applause. And the site-based high school administrator of the year is Corey Ferreira, the assistant principal at Dreyfus School of the Arts. Corey has, yes, congratulations. Corey has been with the district for 14 years, the past 6 as an assistant principal. When she was a student at Coniston Middle and Forest Hill High School, she had impactful teachers who believed in her unconditionally. Their support fueled her decision to go into education, and her students and teachers keep her going each day. She considers Dreyfus a family, and they all support each other, which leads to great success. Let's give her a round of applause. Next, we will be recognizing a group of Meadow Park Elementary School students who won the Regional Solar Cook-Off competition at Florida Atlantic University last month. 2 teams competed and won first place solar design, first place culinary, and first place overall in the grade 3 to 5 category. Students used their STEM engineering design knowledge to construct an oven from recycled materials that would be able to reach at least 200 degrees in temperature in order to make a variety of meals using locally grown ingredients. The students demonstrated ingenuity and creativity in winning this unique contest. Congratulations to the team of students who are called the Solar Six, Anthony Blessington, who is in the 4th grade, and 5th graders Jude Blessington, Hunter Bragg, Julian DeJesus, William Miller, and Caden Sothen. And additional congratulations to the other team of students who are called the Energy Efficient Eagles, all 5th graders, Amanda Baez, Melissa Morion, Victoria Prida, Brittany Ruiz, Maria Sosa, and Camilla Strobel. And also thank you to the coaches for their guidance and support, Valerie Blessington, Kathleen Heydrich, Avelina Strobel, and Atmara Portilla. And we also want to acknowledge the Meadow Park's principal, Ms. Valerie Zaloga Haynes. Let's give them all a round of applause. Now we want to recognize the Leslie L. Alexander Foundation for their generous donation of $12,000 to support the basic needs of homeless students and their families. The foundation provided the gift to the school district's McKinney-Vento program, which addresses problems faced by children experiencing homelessness and works to remove barriers to successful outcomes for those students. We often take for granted the ability to grab lunch at a local deli when the mood strikes or pop into a gas station to fill our tank when our car needs gas. Through a donation like this, the McKinney-Vento program is able to provide homeless students and their families with many of the basic necessities they need to survive. The district greatly appreciates this donation and is grateful for the support of our vulnerable students. Here this evening to accept this recognition, we have Ellen Endell, Executive Director of the Leslie Alexander Foundation, and a thank you to Beth Leffler, Specialist and Homeless Liaison in the Department of Support Services. And we also want to acknowledge our District 4 board member, Ms. Erica Whitfield, who is also an advocate for the homeless. Let's give them all a round of applause. Next, we want to recognize, this is a long list, 43 of our elementary schools for receiving awards from the United States Department of Agriculture's Healthier U.S. School Challenge. The challenge is a voluntary certification initiative recognizing schools that demonstrate a commitment to advocating healthier school environments through the promotion of nutrition and physical activity. All awardees of this certification have surpassed minimum meal service requirements and excelled in nutrition, education, physical education, and other areas of wellness and food service management. Schools that earned bronze level received $500, and schools that achieved silver level received $1,000. In keeping with the mission of the school district, the Healthier U.S. School Challenge Award is a testament to the district's positive learning culture and our commitment to the health and well-being of our students. We want to acknowledge the following people for their efforts in support of this Healthier U.S. initiative. Ms. Janine Rizzo, School-Based Wellness Coordinator and School Guardian Liaison. Nanique Garidian, Assistant School-Based Wellness Coordinator. And also thank you to Allison Monbleu, School Food Service Director, and Jamie McCarthy, School Food Service Manager of Nutrition Services. At this time, we'd like to recognize the following elementary schools for their bronze level achievements in the Healthier U.S. School Challenge. I'd ask the representatives from each school to come forward as I call your school's name, and can everyone please hold your applause until each school is mentioned. So congratulations to Barton Elementary, Beacon Cove Intermediate, Berkshire Elementary, Binks Forest Elementary, Elbridge Gale Elementary, Freedom Shores, Hidden Oaks, Jupiter Farms, Lighthouse Elementary, Limestone Creek, Loxahatchee Groves, Murakami Park, Northborough Elementary, Palm Beach Public, Panther Run, Verde Elementary, Wellington Elementary, and Whispering Pines. Let's give them all a round of applause. Okay. And also congratulations to Winbrook Elementary. And now we'd like to recognize the following elementary schools for their silver level achievement in the Healthier U.S. School Challenge. I'd ask the representatives from each school to come forward as I call your school's name. And can everyone please hold your applause until each school is mentioned. Congratulations to Belvedere Elementary, Boca Raton Elementary, C.O. Taylor Kirkland Elementary, Cross Point Elementary, Crystal Lakes, Cypress Trails, Glade View, Grove Park, Hagen Road, Hope Centennial, Indian Pines, Lincoln Elementary, North Grade, Northmore, Orchard View, Pine Grove Elementary, Pioneer Park, Poinciana, Roosevelt, UB Kinsey Palmview, Washington Elementary, Westgate Elementary, West Riviera Elementary, and Westward Elementary. Let's give them all a round of applause. And finally, this evening, we'd like to recognize Mr. Jim Pegg, who has been involved with the district's safety patrol for more than 30 years. Jim started at Dwight D. Eisenhower Elementary as a teacher in 1985, then became the principal. In 2011, he was named president of the Palm Beach County Safety Patrol Association. He has worked with thousands of kids during his tenure, and seeing the students enjoying themselves on safety patrol trips makes all the work and stress of planning so worthwhile for him. At this time, we'd like to share a brief 90-second video about the safety patrol.
Since 1956, it's been an annual rite of passage for more than 100,000 Palm Beach County Safety Patrol students, a trip to Washington, D.C.
You know, I just fell in love with going on the trip and enjoying seeing Washington, D.C. through the eyes of students for the very first time.
It was amazing. I loved it. I love going to all the different places.
Now the man in charge of keeping the train trips chugging, including securing transportation, lodging, security, tours, meals, and more, is leaving the station. Jim Pegg retires after more than 33 years with the school district.
So over the years, he's been the leader. He's been the one behind the scenes who's made that trip go so well, been so successful, and it's been so smooth.
This was 20 years ago, and I see all these wonderful faces. He put so much time and effort into this trip. He doesn't realize how much he's done for these kids and how much he's helped that experience for them.
It's not just about seeing the memorials and the monuments and the museums. It's also about the experience of you know, being somewhere that you've never experienced before, and especially with the cold and snow, it always adds something to it.
Jim leaves a lasting legacy, and we wish him a bon voyage as he embarks on his next adventure.
Thank you, Mr. Pegg.
Yes, as the video stated, Mr. Pegg is retired and enjoying his next chapter. For any principals or anyone here who wants to join Mr. Pegg at the front, please come forward, and let's give him a big round of applause.
Nico, hold my camera. One, two, and three. Like a family reunion.
Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent and staff, and members of the community, this concludes the presentations for March. The Communications and Engagement Department invites you to visit the district website at www.palmbeachschools.org to learn about all the great things happening in our schools. You can also click on School Board from our website for photos from tonight's meeting. Make sure to follow us on social media, available in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole. And we also encourage you to download our mobile app in Google Play or from the App Store. Just search for School District of Palm Beach County in either store. Thank you, everyone, for your attention this evening, and have a good night.
Thank you, Nick. All right, the next item on the agenda is the student government report by Mr. Ursaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the last month, I had the opportunity of attending the Florida Association of Student Council's state convention held down at Boca Raton High School. It was really a weekend full of great opportunities for all the students and all the student council members there to make new connections with friends and different students all across the state and really build their leadership skills and learn different events from other students to bring back to their schools to make our schools here in Palm Beach County better. Other than that, in the County Council, we've been preparing for our county scholarship. It's a scholarship that is offered to all the student council members that are seniors graduating this year. It's an award based on an essay, and we're really looking forward to see who gets that. And then we've also been planning our Anything Goes event. It's basically our student government's version of a field day for all of our seniors in student government in the county. It's a day of festivities and celebrations just to let loose and have fun for all the seniors that worked so hard for the past 4 years for student council. And that is all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ursul. The committee reports, Academic Advisory Committee. Use that podium there, please. Mr. Doctor, if you want to head over to the other podium.
Good evening, Chairman Barbieri, school board members, Dr. Fenoy, and staff. This month, our committee heard a presentation about the new ESE and ELL technology platforms. The committee was impressed with the new plan, specifically how it will assist staff in budgeting per student needs and how it will improve the process for completing these forms. Staff mentioned that there will be training to help staff develop better measurable goals for IEPs and education plans, EPs. After hearing the ability of this program to track students' progress towards the goals on the plans, the committee members strongly recommended that a link is developed so that parents will be able to access this information through the SIS parent portal, as well as to receive the information, which staff said that there were already plans to do so, to receive the information by paper. But if we can help find ways to make the 2 different or 3 different computer systems work together, that'll help everyone be better informed. Committee members also recommended that the principal's dashboard include fields to track how many IEPs, 504s, English language learners, ELLs, and plans and education plans are out of date, and how many IEPs are due in the following months, so that principals will be better able to easily anticipate staffing needs to cover when teachers will be in these meetings. Staff mentioned that they will be piloting these programs in August and that the Easy IEP will be piloted in different schools than the ELL Elevation program. A committee member recommended that the pilot should also include a few schools where both programs will be implemented at the same time to mimic what will be done during the rollout. The committee also discussed concerns that the portion of the Elevation program which focuses on instructional strategies will be framed as a recommendation instead of a requirement to teachers, so that staff had responded that teachers will be able to use their professional ability to determine appropriate strategies and personalize the process according to the needs of the student. The committee and staff also discussed that these new programs will be helpful to monitor the consistency of strategies and goals that are being implemented. So sometimes you might find that a classroom might have many of the students with the same types of accommodations, and so that instead to really take a look at the needs of each child to make sure that there's differentiation happening to meet their needs. So that seemed to be well received as well as a discussion. So a committee member also asked that the platform be used to help staff ensure that, as per the school board policy, the meetings regarding students with life-threatening health conditions are held prior to the beginning of the school year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your work. Mr. Doctor.
Chairman Barbieri, board members, Dr. Fenoy. My name is Lou Doctor. I'm here representing a Construction Oversight and Review Committee. We met on March 7th with an extensive agenda. We had 9 CORC members that were present. As you know, we're short 1 CORC member. We received 3 non-agenda items asked for our opinion and consideration. They were prepared to be presented to us, but they hadn't finished the financial information that usually goes along with the guaranteed max prices. They processed them. We did not review them. We had no material to review. suggested that we presented them to you. You may want to go forward with them, and they'll finish up the financials and give us the review at the next meeting. That wasn't a problem with us. One was construction manager at risk at the Jupiter Farms Elementary. One was New Horizons Elementary, and the other was Wellington Landings. So they may be brought up on your agenda later.
Mr. Doctor, just so you know, you probably weren't advised yet. I was advised today that those items were pulled from the agenda. They'll be coming to you first, and they'll come to us next month.
Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
By the way, for your information, we are having 2 Cork meetings next month because we have to keep up with the paperwork that you people are generating. Moving on, under the consent agenda, or item 14 on your agenda, facility construction. There were 3 items that were listed there. We either voted to go forward on consent or we voted. Well, consent, of course, means we had no problems with the issues. When we voted on it, there was an issue that we discussed. We came to a conclusion, and then we voted. On FC1 Cunningham Elementary School, it was lighting and interior changes. We voted 9-0 that should go forward. On a second one on re-roofing of Cunningham Elementary, we voted that should go forward by a 9-0 vote. On the third one, FC3 is a contingency item. Those are items that are found during the course of construction that weren't anticipated, they weren't in the drawings, and they were unknown, and as the work proceeds, they recognize something has to be done. You've delegated the financial authority lower in the organization, which is the appropriate thing to do. Cork had some questions on those items, which is an unusual situation because we really don't receive detailed backup on contingency items. They're generally low dollar volume items. So we are suggesting that you move forward on that item, and any information that would answer a few questions Cork members have can be supplied at the next meeting, but we saw no reason to hold up on it. Recommended you proceed on that item. Under construction purchasing, there are 12 projects on your agenda. Interestingly enough, they represent 18 schools, 11 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 4 high schools. Similar to the list that Dr. Fenoy presented, this is a piece of the action that's going on behind the scenes. We reviewed all 12 projects, and most of them were on consent, some weren't. I'm just going to highlight the ones to you that Cork had a discussion on. PC2 construction manager in Spanish River and Royal Palm. The only question on that was the period of time for performance, and due to the nature of the work and the size, that project is going to continue for approximately 2 years. PC3 at risk on Crestwood Middle School, Indian Pines Elementary, and Royal Palms High School. That was moved forward on consent. Construction risk at Starlight Cove, PC4. We discussed the resources necessary to complete that project, and it was moved forward by a 9-0 vote. PC5, construction manager at risk on North Grade Elementary, South Olive, moved forward on consent. PC6, risk for Jupiter Elementary and Pahokee Elementary. That one was voted to move forward by a vote of 8-1. Whenever we have a negative vote, I have an obligation to explain to you the reason why the negative vote, so you can take it under consideration when you make your vote. The problem was with Jupiter Elementary School. We're fixing the fire alarm system in the school, which is one of the safety concerns that's being taken care of by the sales tax money. There's an auditorium attached to the elementary school that has been abandoned and not used for a number of years. One Cork member felt it was a waste of time to spend any money on that particular addition. It's an integral part of the building, and we need to fix the fire alarm system for the entire complex, regardless of whether we're using the auditorium or not. Heaven forbid there should be a fire in an abandoned auditorium. We need to know that and evacuate the children. And the rest of the Cork members felt that was the wise thing. One Cork member objected and said we shouldn't spend any money on it and we should rip it down. We can't rip it down. We don't have the funds. We'd have to rebuild the wall on the elementary school where it was attached. And sometime in the future, there may be a need by the town to find a use for the building. So the cheapest and logical approach is to fix the fire alarm system, and we recommend it to go forward by an 8-1 vote. On PC7, it was recommended by go forward by a 9-0 vote. That was pulled The reason it was pulled is there were a number of issues that the contractor raised in preparing his bid for the job. One of your staff members was in the room. He informed us that he had reviewed every item the contractor had raised, either clarified the contract intent, explained where it was located somewhere in the contract, and successfully responded to every question the contractor had. We pulled it in order to get that answer, and he provided a logical, consistent, and solid answer. And so we recommended the next items that we had pulled for discussion all go forward. So that applies to a PC8 through PC13. Under discussion, we noticed that the Adult Education Center had resolved all the internal problems, and that construction is now going forward. We were glad to hear that. There were some cost issues. They had been resolved, and that project is moving ahead. We'll hear more about it in the future. And then we received a summary similar to what Dr. Fennoy had showed you today about the work that's in process. It's a heavy workload. There's a lot of work going on, and your guys are doing a great job. I wanted to congratulate you all. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Doctor? Thank you for reading the thousands of pages. I saw what you guys had, so I appreciate it.
Mr. Barbieri, it was 3,200 pages. By the way, it was necessary paperwork. These are all contracts. You have a great set of contracts. In some cases, they're repetitive with only the vendors' names. There's the request for bids. There's a contractor response. It's the final contract award, and it's really a fine job your staff has done. So the paper is necessary to legally bind the contractors and protect the money, but it's an excellent package.
Thank you. Thank you to Mrs. Paul for getting that done. Thank you. Next item are the delegation speakers. Mr. Gavrilis from our Education Foundation. Mr. Postal, Ms. Postal, the Palm Beach County PTA President. Please come up to the podiums. Not seeing her. Kolsum Zomar, Haitian Volunteer Association. Would you come up to the other podium?
Good evening, and we also want to echo the congratulations to Dr. Fennoy on your one-year anniversary. We'll get back to that in a second. Ms. Andrews, you stole my thunder tonight, but I'm going to give a shout-out as well to District 6 and the Subarus of Pahokee. You heard how they are advancing through the robotics competition. The Pahokee robotics team is now in its second year of funding from the Education Foundation. The first year we had partner funding from Ventus Charitable Foundation and Florida Power and Light. This year, our partners at Aerojet Rocketdyne have been supporting them. From an article that appeared on a website called GeekWire, sorry gang, this year's first LEGO League Challenge asks students to identify and solve a problem faced by humans during long space exploration. In late August, the kids at Pahokee Middle School, the Subarus, set to work researching this issue, coming up with the idea of solving astronauts' kidney stones, a condition they're more likely to encounter in space. The students brainstormed possibilities for addressing the issue and considered making a water gun and using that on the kidney stone. They discussed attaching the water gun to a bag and recirculating the water to create a recyclable device useful in the space setting. Eventually, they decided to shoot water at an astronaut's body using a propeller corkscrew motion to dislodge it. University of Washington physicist Dr. Leonard Crum wrote to the Pahokee students and said, I quote, "Allow me to congratulate you and this team for a remarkably detailed and technically sophisticated examination of the problems faced by astronauts and your imaginative and original approach to their solution." Please, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this next sentence from Dr. Crum. "It took us 10 years to start thinking about something that you have come up with in your first few months." This research caught the attention of NASA. NASA scientist Dr. Chris Lenhart wrote to these students, "This research can help answer fundamental questions about how NASA manages kidney stones and our astronauts in space." Ladies and gentlemen, when I was in high school, I couldn't spell NASA. And these amazing kids at Pahokee are just rocking the robotics world, so congratulations to the Subarus. My second and final point tonight is about our Red Apple supply. Many of you have heard the teaser of this, but I'm absolutely overwhelmed to announce formally and publicly that on March 30th, Saturday morning, Office Depot is making a slight donation to our Red Apple supply store. They will be sending a caravan of 7 trucks 7 semi-trucks. The average semi can handle 26 pallets. That's 184 pallets for those of you keeping score at home. Almost $800,000 worth of school supplies and different things will be sent to our Red Apple supply store. When I hung up the phone with Mr. Jerry Smith, CEO of Office Depot, I turned to our board chairman and said, we're going to need a bigger boat. All of the school board will be invited, as well as any of our district administration. We want to thank Jerry Smith and the incredible team at Office Depot. Those supplies are going to get to our teachers through our Red Apple Supply as quickly as possible. The pallets will contain a number of other items that we don't use, furniture, coffee makers. We will be partnering with Habitat for Humanity of Palm Beach County, Habitat for Humanity of South Palm Beach County, Place of Hope, and a couple of other charities that can use the furniture. We're going to make sure it goes to a good cause. So thank you to Office Depot. Dr. Fenoy, you won the hearts of the Education Foundation and our supporters. I think you had been in office for 48 hours, and on your very first Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, you came to Red Apple Supply and made a visit and helped us pack up bags for the people who had to flee Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. We thank you, we congratulate you, and it's an honor to work with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope to see you on March 30th when a caravan of trucks rolls into Red Apple Supply. This concludes my report. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we are your Education Foundation, serving the needs of the schools, teachers, and students, and the finest school district in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If the representative from the Haitian Volunteer Association is here, I may have mispronounced your name, so if you're here, come up to the podium. Chris Rug, Director of Economic Development for the City of West Palm Beach. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Sorry to keep you so long.
No, that's okay, no problem. It's in city government, we're used to it. So.
Yeah, you know, elected officials, they like to talk.
It's okay. Comes with the territory. Yes, Christopher Rug, Director of Economic Development for the City of West Palm Beach, and I am a proud graduate of Lake Worth High School, I might add. Also a quick aside, so Miss Boyd, Teacher of the Year, her mother is awesome, Blanca Suarez. She is the mayor's assistant, and she told us all in City Hall, we were all like so proud of her. And it's really no surprise because if you know, well, you know Miss Boyd, but her mom is equally dedicated to public service and is just, she's the oil that keeps City Hall moving for sure, at least on the second floor anyways. Yes, thank you school board members for having me here tonight, and Dr. Fenoy. The City of West Palm Beach and the school district have been in this memorandum of understanding for partnership schools with Northmore now. This is our 4th year. And you all have been a great partner. We're really happy with the program. And I would say that we have at least we've brought at least 10 organizations to the school to help with the literacy rates and the academic achievement. And we've had great success with it. There's a lot of discussion inside City Hall about how this partnership can be expanded, so that's really good news. And it's all aimed at basically improving that academic achievement, namely literacy. We combine that with just the great work that Principal Daniels and Dr. Coleman are doing. We're really excited to continue this work. So the $25,000 that I believe is on the agenda tonight is to help with the tutor program, and we're very proud on behalf of the City of West Palm Beach, the mayor and the city commission, to make that donation and make that grant to Northmore Elementary and to continue this partnership. So thank you so much for being a great partner, and I see this continuing moving forward as we continue the great work and making great strides at Northmore. And I do have to say that I do read to a first grade class, Miss Bond's class, and it is just, the students are awesome. I mean, really fallen in love with Northmore Elementary and really embraced it. So, and that's the city as a whole. So the mayor does send her apologies. She couldn't make it tonight, but do know that we love partnering with the school and with you all to continue to see success. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And on behalf of the school board, we thank you for supporting our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Katz, our CTA president. Don't see him. Okay. So we have agenda topic speakers. We all have one. Eileen Silber.
No,
That was
Oh.
Chris. Chris is handling it.
Okay, no problem. So, are there any items anybody else wants to pull from the agenda? If not, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Mrs. Andrews made the motion, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. New business, Mr. Superintendent. New business, Mr. Superintendent. CI1. CI1.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman. CI1, I recommend the board approve the agreement with Barwis Methods Training Center of South Florida, LLC, effective March 14th, 2019 through June 30th, 2023, and authorize the superintendent or designee to sign all documents and contracts related to the agreement which are required for implementation.
A motion by Mrs. Brill, second by Mrs. Andrews. Discussion? Dr. Robinson?
Thank you. I'm going to support this, but I just have to push because we keep talking about equity, and I need to push towards equity, right? So this is an agreement with an organization that basically does, it looks like it does like sports, medicine-related work, right? And so our students, and the answer was the students who are in the sports something or other program, right?
Exercise science.
I'm sorry?
Exercise science.
Okay, the sports exercise science program, right? So I asked a question about, one about travel, because this, it said that this request was brought forward by West Boca, and we had this program, this exercise science class in multiple other schools. And so I asked a question about transportation. The answer came back that, well, either they do it themselves or sometimes a school can provide transportation. The question is there equity, right? So I want to circle back and get the information later about, do we know for certain that we have made provisions for all the children in these programs to have the ability to have such external experiences? I mean, it looks fantastic. They have a wonderful website. I mean, I don't really know. And then I asked a question about the people who provide the similar training, and the answer came back. It looked like everybody who does it's not called interns. I can't think of what the right word is.
The clinical agreement.
The clinical agreements for all the medical programs. I think you know that's not what I was asking. I want to know who else do we have the agreement with for this kind of exercise physiology or sports medicine programming? Because I want reassurance that as we move forward, we're trying to provide these outstanding experiences for all children, including those that don't have a car. And so that's just what I want to push there. I think this is fine. I think this is great. But I need to push, since we're talking about equity, all right? It's an equity circle for almost every agenda item. And so that's why I want to push on this one. So if you would provide me with all of us with that information as a follow-up.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, we will provide that as a follow-up. Absolutely.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. CI2, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. CI2, I recommend the board approve the amendment with Florida Atlantic University Board of Trustees, FAU Outreach, effective March 14th, 2019 through June 30, 2020, and authorize the superintendent or designee to sign all documents and contracts related to the agreement, which are required for implementation.
Motion by Ms. Brill, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Discussion, Dr. Robinson.
Yep. So you'll see I asked a question about, okay, let me just make a public statement again. I don't think we should have contracts that renew automatically forever. And that's what this amendment does. And we can say that it's reviewed annually by staff, by both parties, the staff of both parties, but that does not bring the accountability here to this dais, right? And so when we need to, as a board, look at these things, see how we've been doing, so that we can push to make things better at whatever intervals, right? So I had this conversation, like it seemed like with everybody. I'm not going to support this. Okay, I'm never going to knowingly support a contract that goes on forever and ever. Amen. Okay, and so I've gotten some reassurances, Mr. Barbieri, Dr. Fenoy, if you would allow Dr. Licata to provide his reassurances publicly.
You're sure that's fine.
Absolutely. As we spoke, we want to approve this because the students who are taking their industry certifications need their clinicals, and we have to have an agreement in order to certify that. But I assured Dr. Robinson, and with tremendous support, that we will go ahead and ask for an extended time of maybe a contract of 5 years, an agreement. Between the legal parties, it takes a very long time to get these through between FAU and ours because there's so much working with. So to do them every year or two would be crazy, but doing them every 5 years is reasonable. So after this evening, if it's approved tomorrow, we will start working on making sure we move it back into a 5-year or a term of sorts. This way it's not in perpetuity.
So I had this discussion with the general counsel after I saw Dr. Robinson's questions, and my understanding is that we always have a 30-day termination provision in these contracts, right? Always.
All of
So
them,
if they're
yes.
multi-year, there's always a way for us to get out of it if we're not happy with what's happening.
Yes.
So doesn't that kind of satisfy you, Dr. Robinson?
Okay, so not at all, because we don't see it, right? So staff might be happy. Everything might be going along smoothly as far as staff is concerned, and certainly they should have critical thinking applied to these annual evaluations. But this should come to us, right, at an interval, right? Because we're the ones who vote on this stuff, right? And so, no, that does not satisfy me, right? And the original version of this was for 3.5 years. Right. So I would also suggest that there's some deliberation about what the appropriate terms would be. I mean, because it seems to be without rhyme or reason, right? Maybe it's clearly defined somewhere, but at least my viewpoint is without rhyme or reason. But the bottom line is, there needs to be, and it needs to come to the board, so the board can look and say yes, doing a good job, ask our questions, and renew, or make recommendations for improvement.
Mrs. Whitfield, then the general counsel.
Can I just ask why you would create a contract that doesn't have an end date? Is there a reason?
In this particular one, we provided the board a response. With FAU, they have a lot of oversight. The standards that are set, there's 4 different accreditations that the medical program goes through. Versus your private entities, private clinics that we work with that have, most of those are annual renewals. So, and in addition, staff, Dr. Johnson's team meets twice a year with FAU to review programming. So in this particular case.
Well, let me just say I have to agree with Dr. Robinson. That doesn't quite sit right, just as a general rule. So your assurances, Dr. Licata, is that we could fix this if we approve it today? Because I'm happy to give you more time if that's what it needs to, but I think that we really should have some sort of an opportunity where it comes back to us.
This is always amendable because
Yes.
we meet so often, but we do have so many students in the program, and we've been working with them for so many years. It's a great relationship, but yes, tomorrow morning we'll be working on it to make sure we set a timeline for it, which is, again, supported strongly.
And thank you, Dr. Robinson, for bringing that up.
Mrs. Rico?
Thank you. So the inquiry by Dr. Robinson provoked some conversation, thought around this issue, and as the board knows and as district staff knows, and we've discussed this with them, we review all of the contracts that come through our office with a checklist of multiple items, looking at terms and conditions of the contracts to make sure that they're satisfied for that legal sufficiency review and sign off that we do on contracts. In the future, where we review the term of the contract, we will also add a provision that requests or that identifies a justification for the number of years that the contract will last, so that there will be some intentional thought around it's a 2-year contract because to come back in 1 year may create a gap in the student's ability to for continuity of a particular program. In other instances, it may be not applicable. A construction contract, for instance, by its very nature, is going to take a certain number of years to finish according to the project scope. Certain other instances regarding interlocal agreements for our joint use of parks and recreational areas, the justification would be something like it's mutually beneficial for the two governmental agencies to continue this for multiple years so that they have continuity of programming, et cetera. But I do think that, we've discussed this. I've discussed it with Mr. Oswald at length. And so I think that that's a good trigger point to create some intentionality around those terms and give some thought around the accountability piece and when it comes back.
So I have one concern here, and that's that if we have agreements with major institutions like FAU, hospitals that require their boards to approve these contracts, and they don't know that, and every year they have to get together with their board and do all of that, I'm afraid we're going to make it so complicated that some of these institutions are not going to want to deal with us because every year they have to deal with the school board. So can't we just have a policy put in place that if it's going to automatically renew, that it's your responsibility, the administration, to bring it to the board and say this policy is going to renew unless we give them notice in the next 60 days, or there's always that notice provision, so that you bring it to us and then we make the decision whether we want to give them notice to terminate, rather than trying to shorten these contracts so that every year we have to renegotiate the contract with the institution. Can't we just do that? There's a deadline that if we're going to cancel it, we have to do it within a time period. Otherwise, it's going to automatically renew. Why can't you bring it to the board and just say, this is going to renew unless the board, this is not going to renew unless the board, or it is going to renew unless the board says something otherwise? Can't you do that?
I think we can consult with legal, but it does sound doable that we just bring it to the board every year, that this is going to automatically renew without going through the entire process. Yes.
Dr. Robinson, that would kind of help with us not having to renegotiate the contract every day. At that point, we'd be able to either say we're not going to renew this contract unless you make some changes.
No, I never said every year. I never said every year.
You said multi-year contracts you didn't like.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
I said contracts that never end. Mm-hmm. This never ends.
Okay.
I'm good with automatic renewal every year for up to 3 years, 4 years. I'm not trying to do this every year.
Okay.
But it has to be a stop point that says this is going to be publicly reviewed, right? And to see if there's room for improvement. Now, I actually believe that if staff thinks it should be renewed, that we're not going to find fault. It's the principle thing. I mean, I'm going to remind you that I voted against prior superintendent's contract proposal because it was an automatically renewing evergreen contract. I don't believe in that. I think we, as a public entity, part of our responsibility is to publicly review these contracts. And this just happens to be one of them. I think the program is fine. I think it's great. I'm just troubled by what appears to me to be a new wave of never-ending contracts. This is the second one I've seen. I don't remember seeing those before. Maybe they slipped by me. I could have been asleep at the wheel. But as part of my question, and I didn't expect a quick response, but I did ask for a list of every contract that we have that just automatically renews forever and ever. Amen. Right? Because I don't think it's a bunch of them. And if they are, then I'm going to be asking for us to renegotiate that. Right? So it's not every year. I'm not trying to create that level of bureaucracy.
Okay. Ms. Breaux?
I think there's a misperception in saying that it renews automatically forever and ever, amen, because if you look at the attachment on the outreach program agreement, there's an amendment for paragraph 9, and it says this agreement hereby automatically renews each year unless terminated by either party in writing upon 30 days' notice to the other party. So my thought was a hybrid. I support what Mr. Barbieri said. You're dealing with large institutions. If we could have something in policy where we do have a review or staff brings it back, but I don't see any reason why we should have to renegotiate that, because there is an out. I mean, if we review it and we put it in writing or we go back to them, it doesn't continue forever. So it's not in perpetuity. It says here that with 30 days notice. So I just think it's a policy thing. I would not want to see us changing anything here, because as Mr. Barbieri said, we have to deal with their Board of Trustees and with the school district. I don't have a problem with it the way it's written.
Ms. Andrews, then Mr. Shaw.
Yes, I do hear Dr. Robinson, but I do believe, too, that we need to get this information periodically and look at it. Sometimes there may be different board members sitting up here, and they don't even know what you're talking about because it's already done. So I like the idea of passing this tonight and coming up with a timeline where when it comes up again, that we get a chance to review the material, and if we feel that we need to kind of go to the table and do some renegotiations, then we'll do what we have to do. But this doesn't give us a chance to do anything, and as I sit here tonight, I may not be here, 3-4 years from now, and as a result, somebody sitting here says, what is this? So I think our solution tonight is good.
Yeah, and I think there really is an easy way to deal with this. Many years ago in adult education, there were a lot of, some of them were grants, so they had automatic ending dates. But there were also some contracts with the old funding done in adult ed that when we would come to the board with certain contracts that were just automatically renewed, I don't remember exactly what the words, but there was something in there that said after a period of time that it could be renewed, but with approval of the board. That kind of changes a little bit from the comments that are in the current one, and that may be the easiest way, because the one thing we don't want to do is get in a position where we lose those services. So I think just a change in words, and I can't imagine that any of those agencies, I can't imagine FAU would object to that.
If you don't mind, I think at this point I've heard the entire board. I think it's pertinent for the staff and Ms. Rico to get together. Now that I understand the concept, it does make sense at some point for it to come back to the board. I think the last couple of points around the fact that some of us may not be here. And so that actually is a very good point. And so I have no problem with staff working with Ms. Rico on figuring out that mechanism and that trigger.
Okay, for Dr. Robinson.
So I don't know if legal's going to tell me I'm out of order, but I'd like to amend this to add to it that we direct staff to immediately start working with FAU to renegotiate this with a finite contractual period.
Yep. And if we had had this conversation just a week earlier, we would have been able to do that. We just literally met with them, but we will take that back and get on it right away.
Do we have a second on Dr. Robinson's amendment? Seconded by Mrs. Woodfield. Discussion?
Just a quick question for Dr. Robinson. That doesn't mean with a finite thing that excludes the authority for the board to continue. We're not going to give FAU the idea that we're going to have a finite thing in contracts, just that it's got to be renewed after a certain number of years.
Yes.
Okay.
But the contract will have a start and an end date, right? And then it would need to be renewed, and it would need to come to the board in order to be renewed, right? But it would have the annual evaluation by staff by both sides to see if they want to continue, but it would have to come to the board at the end of whatever the contractual period would be.
Do you have Dr. Robinson, do you want to put some time in that, in your modification, so that they know what to tell FAU? You want 3 years, 5 years? What is?
Well, my inclination is 3 years, but I really would like to have some thoughtful evaluation, because I'm just pulling that out my back pocket. So I would like to have some thoughtful evaluation as to what would be in the best interest of all parties involved. But I think at the end of the day, we're responsible, so it has to come to the board.
And I would just say, instead of putting for all contracts, it'll be 3 years. Let us let's evaluate them and bring them, because there's two entities that have to come to that agreement. And before we would make a final determination, we would bring it to the board for your final approval. So I would like if we could just leave that open, and we'll bring that to you each time these extended contracts need to be discussed and formulated.
But well, I guess my only question is, on this one, we're directing staff to go back to FAU and renegotiate this contract with a finite time in it. So we need to give them direction, because if they come back with 2 years and you guys aren't happy with that, then they've got to go back to FAU. So we need to come on this particular contract. I understand not on every contract we're setting a time period, but on this one, if you want staff to go to FAU and come back with a contract, we need to give them some guidance like we do at the closed sessions on limitations on settlement. So what do you...
So why don't we come back with an amendment to tonight's agenda item with a finite number within the year of this contractual year that will amend the existing contract, which will have an ending date within a calendar year. So we move forward with tonight. Within the calendar year, we'll come back with amendment to this, which will have a specific ending date.
Okay. So
Yeah, that's fine. Let me follow up, because I think maybe Mr. Barbieri is talking about something different. So to clarify, that you would come back within a year with a renegotiated contract for a term of no more than 3 years is what I'm suggesting for this. Not that every contract would be 3 years.
If let staff go back to look if 3 years is appropriate, or and we'll bring it back to the board.
That's fine.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment to the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Now we're back on the main motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next item is FMPF1, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. FMPF1, I recommend the board receive and accept the monthly contract and disbursement report as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, seconded by Mr. Shaw. Discussion? Dr. Robinson?
Okay, so I'm just pulling this again because we're not doing well enough with sharing the wealth, right? And as a follow-up to this, I would like to ask not only Mr. Burt, but Mrs. Paul and her Office of Diversity and Business Practices to give us some recommendations on what do you need from us to do better. But I just need to vote against it.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 5-1 with Dr. Robinson opposed. Next item is LD1, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. LD1, I recommend the board authorize the General Counsel to file an appeal with the Fourth District Court of Appeal of the final order entered on March 12, 2019 in Renaissance Charter School, Inc. versus School Board of Palm Beach County, DOA case number 186195RU.
A motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next item is P2, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I recommend the board approve the personnel addendum as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. P3?
Yes, sir. P3, I recommend the board approve the salary increases and revised salary schedules for school-based administrators as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Whitfield, seconded by Mrs. Andrews. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. P4?
P4, Mr. Chair, I recommend the board approve the salary increases and revised salary schedules for NBU employees as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Brill, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. PC12?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I recommend the board approve the guaranteed maximum price, GMP, to State Contracting and Engineering Corporation for facilities renovations and repairs for K.E. Cunningham Canal Point Elementary School, and authorize the superintendent and board chair to finalize and sign all necessary documents.
Motion made by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Whitfield. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. REG-N1.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I recommend the board approve the second addendum to the Memorandum of Understanding with the City of West Palm Beach that will provide 3 reading tutors to Northmore Elementary School.
Motion by Mrs. Andrews, seconded by Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And that takes us to the non-agenda topic speakers. We have several. Call you. Please come up to the podium on either the left or right. Mr. Mohammed. Mohammed, are you here? You come to that podium. And Mr. Mitten, if you want to come up to this podium, please. Okay.
I could go, Carl Muhammad. You know, after the workshop that we supposedly had on infusion, it appears that we got more confusion than we did content at that kind of engagement. I thought that it was going to be a much more informative, much more rigorous activity, but I see that it's not that way. And I see, Dr. Robinson, you even struggling with trying to give the Black History moment each and every meeting. At some juncture, I'm hoping that you would, if you're not going to help our family, if you would just tell us the truth, then possibly we might be able to come up with some more creative activity for ourselves inside of this county. You know, I know everybody like to do the celebratory thing, but when we look at the problems that are plaguing the African American, the non-immigrant African Americans, we seem to find no one to help us with the injury, and thousands of dollars are being spent on all of these teachers, but none of them seem to be proficient in really dealing with the Florida Statute 1003.42H. And I know that we are getting ready for the Summer Institute, and this year we're expanding the thought process supposedly to include the diaspora. But I do believe that America's problem must be dealt with first. And those of us who are non-immigrant blacks, we've been involved in this school district before it was incorporated, and we've been involved with it ever since it's been incorporated. And as of yet, we haven't gave our community back one child educated properly. And that's a human mathematical equation that I wish that all of you would evaluate sometime or another. Charity starts at home. And it doesn't seem that you have any resources earmarked to address the problem with your infusion. And I know that we don't have any understanding based upon the workshop that we have, because I seen the same thing that was given to us 10 or 15 years ago by Debbie Range and that crew, and nothing has changed. And I was hoping, since we do have Dr. Fenoy, and he did say that he was going to take over the reins of the Superintendent Task Force and really address the multitude of complex problems that African-American children are dealing with, it doesn't seem that we get into y'all conversations at all. And even tonight, with that being the worst part of your system, every time I come to this mic, it looked like someone should have a little bit more compassion, a little bit more love, and a little bit more equitable thought inside of your thinking process. And I say that from the deepest state of humility, and I'm hoping that you might be able to render some kind of support to our community before this year is out, because I gave you the same conversation the past 5 years. Look like this year we should try to change it sincerely if we're interested in true equitable approaches to the problems that are plaguing Palm Beach County School District and the state of Florida as it relates to trying to repair the damages that you are doing to our babies each and every year. I know more of them can read more words, but the content is still the same, and that's what we're complaining about. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Would you just, we know who you are, but would you state your name
Carl
for the record?
Muhammad.
Thank you.
Gary Mitten. Step 2 in repairing the broken maintenance department. Step 1 was gone over last week. Before, we had building mechanics in all of our high schools. There's 25 high schools, so you need to hire new help, which in my opinion should be carpenters, because they're a little bit more diverse in what they do. Building mechanics answer to the maintenance department and to principals and administration at the high schools. They can, say, change a light bulb, change a ballast, unplug a toilet, put a paper dispenser in before the work order can even leave the school, get to the call center, dispatched out to the personnel, and sent to the school. They can repair all of that. We have schools now, the high schools, say Seminole Ridge produces carpenters, great school, great trade school. I believe Palm Beach State College has AC people. We can do this all locally with kids right out of high school. We can teach them, grow them, make them young, and grow up in the system. Many people are very happy in paying their bills and thriving that way. They don't have to go to college. A lot of people aren't qualified, aren't financially able to go to college. So having a wife and kids right here at home, right here in the community, working for great people is important to them. So we have that ability, and we can do it with training through the ranks. The building mechanic will have to be trained even after he has his job a couple times a week from personnel in the district that already work for the district. They need to be hired through the interview committee through the people they'll work for, not somebody at DAC or somebody over in maintenance that sits up in that office writing all day and really doesn't have any idea what goes on out in the field. The building mechanic needs to be hired and interviewed by the people they're working for. That way you won't hear the complaint, well, he ain't worth a crap. Well, you hired him. So deal with it. They need to be that 90-day period where you can just terminate their employment without any problem. That needs to be supervised. They need to be watched that 90 days, not turned loose and say, well, you're doing fine, which has happened in the past in so many of our jobs, as you well know. So we have that ability. We have to hire the 25 people, the new people, not taken away from your current workforce. You've done enough of that over the past 20 years. If you do this, step 2, we can get back to the way we were, say, 25 years ago. One of the 5 top-ranked maintenance departments in the country. Believe it. We used to be that way. We are far, far from that way now. So you have that ability to suggest to the superintendent, or superintendent has the ability to hire. Run the ad, get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Medden. I understand that Mr. Zolmar might be here? No. Okay. Chris Connors, Lake Park Elementary Guidance Counselor, and Terry McIntyre, would you each come up to one of the podiums, please? When you start, please state your name for the record.
My name is Chris Connors. I live in Boynton Beach. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school board members, and Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. I'd like to say thank you for giving me time to speak to all of you tonight. I'm here to discuss what school counselors do to help students and the new position being offered next year, the school behavioral health profession. First, I hope you don't mind that I tell you about my career to help put it all into perspective. I was the first one in my family to go to college. I had a guidance counselor, AKA school counselor, who helped me every step of the way to get to college. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in elementary education. I taught for 16 years, grades K through 8 in a variety of subjects. But I still believed I was missing something when I was teaching, having the time to build relationships with students and help them feel successful, learn skills to persevere, and have coping skills when they were upset, sad, or grieving. I felt fulfilled when I worked with students in this capacity. After getting my master's degree, I have had the most fulfillment in my 20-plus years in education by being a school counselor. Actively advocating for students, parents, staff, and community members is my calling, but it is also what all school counselors have been trained to do. In other school districts that I have been a school counselor in, my time was spent helping students in small groups, individual sessions, helping teachers use social emotional language and techniques in their classrooms, helping parents solve problems, and referring families to community resources when it was needed, and by providing monthly classroom lessons on topics pertinent to those students. Those things made my time effective yet powerful. 80% of our time as a school counselor is to be in direct services with students. That means face-to-face interactions by providing social emotional skills. And the other 20% is indirect services. If we are doing the paperwork most of the time, this is an indirect service and an ineffective way to help students. I have found that there have been many barriers to my job here that make my time with students ineffective and inefficient, such as doing paperwork, duty stations, academic interventions, etc. It may be due to misperceptions of what school counselors are to do compared to what school counselors have been educated to do. Concerning the school behavioral health professional position being offered, it needs to be a cohesive and collaborative effort where school counselors are using the skills they were specifically skilled in to assist schools, parents, students, and the community, not take away from those skill sets. The new position is a very positive step in the right direction, and it should provide expertise, such as behavior interventions that we don't have as school counselors. It is necessary for all of our schools. I'll leave you with 3 questions. What have school counselors been trained for? Can you support us to guide our principals to utilize school counselors effectively? And 3, are students ultimately learning the social emotional skills from school counselors to become successful in life? We're happy to meet with you at a later date. Thank you again for letting me have time to speak to you.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do for our children. We appreciate it. Terry McIntyre.
Yes, for the record, my name is Terry McIntyre. Dr. Fenoy, members of the board, Dr. Licata asked me to attend tonight and brief you. First thing is update on the summer STEM camps application process. We are 16 working days to seek, screen, and have our students apply for their respective one-week STEM camps at the Naval Academy. The deadline is the 15th of April. With ongoing testing, this will be difficult but not impossible to accomplish. Earlier this week, I spoke and emailed the Naval Academy, and it looks very encouraging for our Title I student applicants to receive full tuition waivers / scholarships, which would be a saving of $550 per student, and they are heavily encouraged to ask for travel support as well. So that's great news. A second point, Glade Central High School principal Ms. Melanie Bolden Morris, who I met last Thursday, very much likes the idea to go forward with petitioning the United States Marine Corps for a Marine Corps Junior ROTC unit at her high school, Glade Central. She has tasked one of her assistant principals to follow up on that issue. And she has invited the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, a man with 36 years active duty service, Sergeant Major Green, to come to our area on Saturday, the 18th of May, to see the Glade Central football team play their spring jamboree at Palm Beach Lakes High School, which ironically already has an existing Marine Corps ROTC unit established. We hope Sergeant Major Green will be able to attend. His visit would be both welcomed and encouraging. He is the 18th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps and the 4th African-American Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. So in conclusion, we're tracking well. They'll all have a great spring break vacation to include St. Patrick's Day this coming Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Shane Vidal and Lisa Glass.
My name is Pastor Shane Vidal. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, Mr. Board Chair, all the board members, and Dr. Fenoy. It is a wonderful privilege to come and share with you this evening. I recently moved from Brooklyn, New York, and it is quite an experience here in Palm Beach County. I must say that I'm tremendously blessed with the opportunity to live in a wonderful city. And I am also blessed by what I witnessed here tonight. This is truly a family, and I want to commend you all for the tremendous job you're doing for our community and for our children. I came from Brooklyn, New York, as I mentioned, where we all get together to build our community, no matter what religion, no matter what organization. As long as we are about community building, we work together for one cause, and that is to make our community a better community. And that is exactly what I intend to do as I work with you here in West Palm Beach. I am saying to you that I am here. I don't believe that I'm called just to be the pastor for a particular congregation. I'm here to serve the community. And so whatever needs you may have, my specialty is transformational leadership and counseling. And so whatever you may need, you can call on me and I'll be there. But tonight, I am here to advertise and to share with you a particular program that is upcoming. If we notice what's happening all around us, it is a tremendous problem as it relates to gun violence. Many people are dying. Just last year alone, almost 40,000 people in the United States alone died by gun violence, and that's what was reported. We also recognize that drugs is a serious problem in our schools today, both high school and middle school. We want to, by God's grace, address those issues. Hence, myself and a group of young people came up with a rally. The date is April the 6th. It is entitled the Breaking Free Rally. We're seeking to partner with all our community organizations, all our churches, no matter what religion, all our entities, our schools, we have partnered with Never Again youth organization. We have partnered with many young people from Stoneman Douglas High School. We have partnered with just so many people who have come together to put this program together for April 6th. And so we are appealing to our school board and appealing to all our educators to let's get together on this day to make a difference in our community. This program will kick off at 3:30 p.m. You will see it on the flyer here. At 3:30 p.m. with a march against drugs. We have young people coming from all over the globe to be a part of this event. In fact, coming from Fort Lauderdale, we have 3 busloads of young people who are coming. I want to make sure that I'm keeping within my time. And so they did say that I have 3 minutes, and so I want to make sure that I stick to that. But on April 6th, this event will take place. My 3 minutes is up.
That was the beep you heard, yes, sir.
That's the beep. All right. When you get a preacher around a mic, you get in trouble.
Yeah, we have Mrs. Andrews. We know what that's like.
All right. Just to make a long story short, we're inviting you all to be present. Our mayor's office, all our mayors are invited, and they're going to be there to support the event. Mr. Superintendent and all educators, all our various organizations here today, we're inviting you to join with us in bringing change to our community. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Lisa Glass? Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lisa Glass. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns tonight. This is my son, Jared, and he attends Dreyfus High School. A few months ago, my son made a poor decision and installed a few games on the computer at school. It was discovered yesterday. Jared and I both understand that this was wrong and that there should be consequences. However, Dreyfus High School is making this out to be a huge offense. They gave him a 5-day out-of-school suspension, and they are kicking him out of Dreyfus. We all know that out-of-school suspensions are not good for students and their future, and not to mention the fact that kicking him out of his high school will be detrimental to him. I feel that they are giving him this drastic consequence for what is a minor offense. Last year, another student installed some games on a computer and had no consequences whatsoever. This student is the current valedictorian of Jared's class and fits the Dreyfus type. My son Jared, while he's a good student, is not the Ivy League bound type of student that Dreyfus likes. In addition to the problem with the harsh consequence for a minor offense, I'm very concerned that my son and other students are able to easily bypass the district computer's security based on information from a 2-minute YouTube video. At home, we strictly monitor his computer activity, and only to find out that at school the students have unfettered access to the internet. I'm asking you to look into the unequal consequences for different types of students at Dreyfus, and I would hope that you would also look at the lax security on the district computers. Now my son would like to say something. Thank you for listening.
I'd just like to say that I'm sorry. I don't really know what I was thinking, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, that ends the speakers. Mrs. Whitfield, you asked me at the beginning of the meeting if I'd estimate what time we were going to get done, and I estimate that we're going to get done at 7:13, and the meeting is adjourned.